The Nats have reportedly not tried to extend Daylen Lile, and that's a problem.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day. I am your host, Ryan Clary. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And later on in today's show, we've got a Nats Brewers series preview that kicks off tonight up in Milwaukee. We'll discuss that with all the pitching matchups and things that you're going to want to watch for later on in the show today. And in the second segment, new segment this year, we are going farming with the Washington Nationals. It's a look and a deep dive for the Washington Nationals farm system, who is growing and who is blowing. We'll talk about that later on in the program today, but the Nationals have not tried to extend Daylen Lile, according to Spencer Nussbaum of The Athletic, and that is a problem right now for the Washington Nationals. So here's what Spencer Nussbaum had to say about just a lot of things going on with the Washington Nationals. Quote, "The Nationals have yet to broach Lile with an extension offer. And here is what Daylen Lile had to say about it. Whatever happens, happens." Spencer actually went and did some digging on Daylen Lile's agency, because we all know that your agent actually plays a role in what could happen and what kind of extension you sign, and sub-agencies are more prone to signing early extensions in people's career. Well, Daylen Lile's agency is Beverly Hills Sports. That is the agency that got Jackson Chourio and Christian Campbell both extensions before they came up into the big leagues. Obviously, they are a team that, and they're an agency that is very willing to give an extension. Right now, the Washington Nationals do not have a contract guy outside of Keibert Ruiz post-2026. When was the last time that the Nationals signed someone to an extension? It was Keibert Ruiz. At some point in time, you are going to have to lock up one of your young key pieces. And I don't know what this is. Here's what I can tell you. I feel as if that Taboni and Ani Colombi, they understand it. Like with the Boston Red Sox, for instance. Last year, Christian Campbell, he got locked up with a big old extension with the Boston Red Sox. Taboni was a big part of that organization and one of the decision makers within the Boston Red Sox. I'm pretty sure he probably has a say in what kind of money he gets and what guys should be getting an extension. And then ultimately also Roman Anthony, he got another extension with the Boston Red Sox. So I don't really think this is a Taboni thing. Ani Colombi, he was an assistant GM with the Philadelphia Phillies. I think he obviously had a lot of different roles within that team, but I don't think he comes from a background that might be hesitant on giving someone like Daylen Lile a chance. Here's what I think it is. I do think this is a Lerner family thing. And I don't know if they are hamstrung with cash. I don't know if this is something that maybe they don't believe fully in Daylen Lile at this point. But the fact that you have not tried to extend him at this point is alarming. All offseason long, we are talking about, hey, maybe they should be trying to extend a James Wood or maybe a Dylan Cruz at one point. And we're talking CJ Abrams and Daylen Lile is in the picture. You have a ton of different guys who could be getting that extension opportunity. And I just thought it was a foregone conclusion that, yeah, they're going to be talking about extensions with someone, and they're going to be trying to extend one of these guys. Like, it just made sense. It makes sense to lock up one of your young key pieces, especially before next year's holdout that's indefinitely going to be happening at this point. It just makes sense to try to lock up one of your main key pieces, especially someone like Daylen Lile, who had a breakout rookie year. But that's not the case. And the more alarming part of this is they have not even tried to extend him at this point. This obviously, to me, just kind of goes to show you what this organization is right now. And I think right now, with where the Nationals are, they kind of have the front office tied with their hands behind their back with the way that money is flowing with this organization. And that's just from the outside looking in. And I don't really see how people get to the other side of this conclusion saying, yeah, we're not ready to give Daylen Lile an extension. Is there any time in a young player's career where you say, yeah, you know what? We're ready to give this guy an extension? Cooper Pratt with the Milwaukee Brewers. He is a Scott Boras client, actually. And before he even made his AAA debut, he had an extension signed with the Milwaukee Brewers. Like, if you look at his numbers, Cooper Pratt is a good shortstop. Offensively, he has not put up some major big-time numbers for the Brewers. He's been a good player, but he is certainly not someone that is blowing prospects out of the water. He's not a top 5 prospect in baseball, let alone a top 10 or a top 20 guy at this point. He's a really good prospect. But Daylen Lile has actually done it before in the major leagues. Daylen Lile has put together a good second half for the Washington Nationals last year. He's done it up in the bigs. We've seen it. We saw it in spring training. We're seeing it early on this season. He looks good. While the power is not there at this point, I feel confident in where Daylen Lile is in his progression for this season. This is just alarming, in my opinion. And I don't really know who I should be going at. And there should be no animosity here within the Nationals. But the fact that this has not happened yet, and that you have not gotten an extension offer to one of your main key pieces, is it just because they're focusing on CJ Abrams? Is it because they're focusing on a Brady House who's had a hot start? Is it them focusing elsewhere? Or is it the ownership just not really willing to give out long-term commitments at this point, especially with a looming lockout? It's certainly something that's interesting to talk about here because it just makes no sense. Every team out there is extending their young core pieces, and at a rate that is happening across baseball at this point, young players seemingly want that extension and they want that money. They want that guarantee of, hey, I'm going to be here for X amount of years and I'm going to be getting $90 million or whatever it is over 6-7 years. The fact that we have not done that at this point is so alarming to me. And Daylen Lile deserves it. If you look at some of the most valuable players for the Nationals, forget the defense for a second. Daylen Lile has been the second most valuable Washington National at the plate since the All-Star break of last season, right behind James Wood. And even then, he's been more valuable than James Wood. But we just know what Wood is, and he struggled in the second half last year and had the third most strikeouts in a season in Major League history. But we know what Daylen Lile is. I am pretty sure that I could say he is a guarantee to be a good player for a very long time in the bigs. And you're not locking that up? So forget the CJ Abrams stuff, who's going to be way more expensive. Brady House, forget that at this point. And James Wood, you can kiss that goodbye at this point. They're not signing an extension at this point. I will say this. I would be stunned if we are talking in late September and we hear that Daylen Lile has not had an extension offer to him. I would be floored. And by the end of this season, if we hear that Brady House and Daylen Lile and James Wood and all your young pieces, maybe a Harry Ford that comes back up in the organization, if these guys do not get an extension offer, that is when we sound the alarms, we blame everyone, and ask major questions about what exactly is going on in this ownership and what exactly needs to happen to get these guys' deals done. Daylen Lile has proved it to me. That is a player that you want on this team being in the middle of your lineup. You have to extend him. And that is a necessity at this point for where the Nationals are. You need to lock up your young talent. And if that is not going to happen, then we need a lot of different things, and it starts with ownership. That is unacceptable. If you cannot try to extend Daylen Lile, if you fail at it, no problem. You tried. But the fact that they aren't trying, that's the alarming part. The Pittsburgh Pirates, man. Connor Griffin, 9 years, $140 million after playing 4 games. The Pittsburgh Pirates versus the Washington Nationals. Think about that for a second. Next, let's talk about our new segment. We're going farming. We'll talk about that and what it is after this. But let me tell you about our friends at TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. And trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide, and you can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of waking up and walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing that your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you to book your appointment today. If you have not done so already, you got to check out the Everyday Air Club because baseball is finally back. And to celebrate, I'm giving you a full month of the Everyday Air Club for free. Go to lockedonnationals.supercast.com and use code FINALLY. You'll unlock every episode ad-free and get access to our private listener group chat. Tap the link in the show notes and use code FINALLY to claim your first free month. So we start a new segment today. This used to be the Nationals Prospect Stock Report. We have now kind of changed it a little bit. It's along those same lines. You still get the same content, but with a different name. We are going farming with the Washington Nationals, who is growing and who is blowing. Growing, obviously, is a positive. Blowing is a negative. So we'll get into it. And let's start with who is growing for the Washington Nationals, and that is 2024 first-round pick, Seaver King. His first 20 at-bats in Double-A has been wildly impressive, but I want to talk about the defense first and foremost. By the way, the Harrisburg Senators are 6-0 to start the year. That is a very talented team right now. They look really good. And it's a couple of guys in there with Seaver King, Sam Petersen. They've got a couple of pitchers. I would expect Harleen Suzana to join them eventually once he is off the IL, which, by the way, he's on the 60-day IL at this point. So I think that's going to be a very talented team to watch for the duration of this season. But Seaver King, in his first 20 at-bats, is batting .250, a .433 OBP, and a .400 slug while playing elite defense over at shortstop. I've said this, like, when the Nationals first drafted Seaver King, I kind of hated the pick. I did not think the Nationals would be able to develop him, and I thought that it just was not a fit within the National system. But with this new regime, I feel very confident in the way that they can and will develop Seaver King. This is someone who has the potential to steal 30 bases in a season, which, by the way, he's already got a couple of stolen bases through 6 games. But this is someone who could play elite defense at shortstop, up the middle at second base. He can move over to third, and he's also played in the outfield, not for the Nationals, but still. He has hit a home run. He has stolen 2 bases. Like, the trajectory for him is up. And if we're talking about one of the breakout guys for the Nationals, I, again, think it's going to be Seaver King. This is a guy that was kind of slept on last year, but it's because I think he was struggling. The Nationals kind of flew him up for really no reason at all. Put him up in Double-A after struggling in High A. Didn't really do too much better in Double-A, of course, duh. And now, after a really good Arizona Fall League where he made some swing adjustments, and obviously the Nationals have worked with him a lot this offseason, and he looks like a new, improved, better player, Seaver King is looking the part of being a very good prospect and a very promising prospect for the Nationals. Again, elite defense, good offense. He can steal bases, high IQ player. He gets it. And I do think that the Nationals have really got something going here with Seaver King. So he is growing to begin the year. Another guy who is growing, who is his double-A partner there, is Sam Petersen. Sam Petersen has all this guy has done over the years is put up monster numbers for the Nationals. And 229 career at-bats in the minor leagues. He's batting .323 with 32 stolen bases, 9 home runs, and a .950 OPS. He was an 8th round pick by the Nationals in 2024 in that same draft class with Seaver King. And so far through 6 games for the Harrisburg Senators, he's got 2 home runs. He has struck out 10 times, but he has 4 stolen bases. He's batting .390, a 1266 OPS, and you're starting to see the power come into fruition, the speed, the good defense in the outfield. He is kind of like this hidden gem at this point. And it's hard to really kind of get into what Sam Petersen could be. Like, he kind of flew under the radar last year because, let's be honest, like, it's hard to really imagine him being like some massive star for the Nationals. But at 23 years old now, he is kind of growing into his own shoes. And I do think that maybe he is blossoming at the right time. Like, if you look at his college numbers, he always hit for a little bit of pop. He stole bases. He played good defense in the outfield. And this is starting to become a thing. And it's going to be really interesting to watch. He might be my most interesting prospect to watch down the stretch because I just am infatuated by what he's done so far. And I do think that Petersen is certainly someone that a lot of Nationals fans should be watching. You've seen Baseball America flown him up through the rankings this offseason. MLB.com has done the same thing. By the midway point this season, after the trade deadline, I'd be really interested to see where he is amongst those rankings and what the experts really think about him. But I'm sure if you ask anyone in the Nationals organization, they're probably very high on what Sam Petersen brings to the table. Power, speed combination at the plate, that's the thing that you are looking for in 2026, and he's got it. So Sam Petersen, he is growing at this point. Unfortunately, someone who is blowing is Elijah Green. I want him to work so badly. I want this to work just so badly. He is so talented. He's got the potential to be a Gold Glover in center field. He's got the speed to steal 40-plus bases, and he's got the power to hit 40 home runs. But he cannot stay consistent. And the swing and miss is real. It just is. 13 strikeouts in his first 20 at-bats. 1 hit, and it was a single. He's stolen a couple of bases, but it's not enough at this point. And now when you are 22 years old, the report's kind of out on you. And I hate to be that guy who just continues to dunk on him, but here's what I will say. I would not be totally surprised to see the Nationals potentially try to move off him via trade. Like, maybe an organization out there is like, you know what? We'll take a chance on a former top prospect with Elijah Green, and he's got the potential. You'd give up nothing for him. And I just think the Nationals, in their best interests, might have to move on from him at this point. And if this regime cannot work with him and cannot fix his swing and miss potential, then it's just not worth it anymore. So, unfortunately, Elijah Green is blowing. I hope he turns it around, but that's just not the case at this point. Growing, Andrew Alvarez. I love Andrew Alvarez. Like, 16 strikeouts in his last 2 outings. We talked about him yesterday on this show, and if you missed it, we'll talk about him again right here. But 16 strikeouts over his last 10 innings pitched, 4 walks. He walked 5 guys in the first outing of his season this year. Probably not the best performance, and it kind of inflated his ERA as he gave up a lot in that first start in Rochester. But Andrew Alvarez is someone who belongs in this rotation like right now. And I think we talked about it with yesterday's show. You should either move Miles Michaelis to the bullpen, you should DFA him, but that is not a starting caliber pitcher. And I don't think it hurts for the Nationals to get another lefty in this rotation because, listen, you're going to have to give other teams some different looks. And with Foster Griffin and Andrew Alvarez, they're kind of cut from the same cloth. Obviously, with Foster Griffin, he does not have Andrew Alvarez does not have 7 pitches that he throws. So that's another thing that I think a lot of people will have to watch. But I do think Andrew Alvarez belongs in this rotation, and I want to see him out there for the Nationals. And he's looked good in AAA Rochester at this point. So let's see if the Nationals decide to give him a chance. So to run through it, the guys who are growing are Seaver King, Sam Petersen, and Andrew Alvarez. And the one guy that is blowing this week is unfortunately Elijah Green. But next, I want to get into this Milwaukee Brewers series. It's going to be a tough one for the Nationals, so we'll talk about it after this. Let me tell you about our friends at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, and inbox overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for with skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. So again, spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. And when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Nats Brewers gets underway tonight as the Washington Nationals have Jake Irvin on the bump going up against right-handed pitcher Chad Patrick, who had a really impressive season last year for the Milwaukee Brewers. And so far, he has been a really good pitcher in 2026. So this is going to be a tall task for the Nationals, but here's the good news is the way that they have been playing with Butera ball. Like what Butera ball is they're going to play the data game. So in this matchup, you're going to have obviously a ton of lefties loaded up in this lineup. And I've kind of noticed a theme with Blake Butera. It goes like left, left, right, or left, left. Like he really kind of thinks about this lineup. Like there is no just guessing. Like the old way of doing it is you have your speedy guy at the top with CJ Abrams. Then your number 2 hitter is a contact guy. Number 3 is probably your overall best hitter. Number 4 is your power guy. And then number 5 is kind of a mix of your 4 and 3. But this lineup, like there is a rhyme and reason to it. While it does seem a little random, like there is a lot of thought being put into generating these lineups. So it's kind of hard at this point with what are we, 4 and 6 on the years, or 4 and 8 on the years? So there's 12 games. It's kind of hard to guess where the Nationals go with this, but I do think that tonight's matchup with Jake Irvin going up against Chad Patrick, that's going to be interesting. The pitching matchup I'm actually really excited for is Foster Griffin against Kyle Harrison tomorrow's game. So Kyle Harrison, for those who do not know, was one of the key pieces of that Rafael Devers trade last year that the Giants sent over to the Boston Red Sox for Rafael Devers. So Paul Taboni and Devin Petersen in this Nationals front office, obviously very familiar with this guy. So I wonder if they have any inside information for the Nationals to kind of dish out to them. Formerly a top 20 prospect in baseball, one of the better pitching prospects at that time a few years ago, but hasn't really panned out. But here's the thing, with the Milwaukee Brewers, they do one thing very well, and that is develop pitching. I would not be surprised to see Kyle Harrison be an absolute stud. So that is a game tomorrow going up against this lineup with the Nationals with James Wood and CJ Abrams and Daylen Lile, Luis Garcia. That's a tough matchup for this Nationals team. And he's got some really good stuff, a really impressive sweeper that I think could get a lot of swings and misses for the Nationals. So watch out for that game tomorrow. I'm kind of circling Kyle Harrison on my lineup card. But You guys have a good one. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Nationals baseball. Hopefully it was a good show today. And on Monday, we'll talk all about this weekend and have your first Nat stock report of the season. We'll talk about that and much more on Monday's show. Have a good one. Go Nats.